Outdoor televisions for a local bar, a dog park coming to town, and the end of the tech tax. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Monday, September 30th, 2013. I'm Sarah Colvin. Outdoor televisions at the Quarterdeck Lounge can stay. During a show cause hearing last month, the issue of whether or not the outdoor TVs were licenses was raised. Owner Errol Thompson was before the board this morning.
This application is to amend the existing lawn live entertainment license to add the description on the license of 3 TVs located on the rear deck to be operated from 8 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. And we're going to make it legal. Right, Errol?
That's correct.
I guess we couldn't find any approval, but you probably got something verbal, you think?
I'm pretty sure that I did.
Now that 3 TV, that includes the Keno?
That's correct.
So this will just continue the way you've been operating for
That's
a
correct.
number of
The
years.
board approved that license. Meanwhile, the licensing authority is making some changes to the way it handles violation sentences. Typically, businesses found in violation of their licenses must close for a period of time 1 year from the date of the violation. Today, the board discussed that practice and potential change.
A public hearing on a proposed change in the policy of this authority for service of license suspensions as follows. Suspensions are to be served as soon as practical after the license hearing in which suspension is imposed, unless the licensing authority determines a circumstance requires a specific date or time frame would better serve as a sanction for the offense which where they are found guilty. And this is a result of looking at our present policy, which is the suspension takes place a year from the date of the violation. Is there any discussion regarding the change in the policy regarding the service of suspensions? I understand that from your investigation, most communities operate like this.
Mr. Chairman, the only other community that has this policy, the policy we have now, I think, is Oak Bluffs. Actually, this would just give you more flexibility to determine when they serve the suspension. So you could still have it a year from the date of the violation, or you could have them serve it sooner. It just gives you more flexibility.
Any further discussion? It seems like a better policy. Lieutenant, you agree with this? The year seems like a long time.
The ability for the board to have the flexibility to decide when and what the appropriate time of suspension is would be an asset to the police department, and I think would assist us in our enforcement efforts for license violations. To tie the board to you can only do it a year later is, to me, not practical. I think a case-by-case basis is more appropriate.
Mr. Behrman?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we amend the current, what do we call it?
Policy?
Policy, no, the policy for violation to be amended to read that, or as the board sees fit.
You don't like as soon as practical? The wording as soon as practical?
Practical.
Just accept what's written. You want to do that?
Soon as practical in which the license suspension is imposed.
Yeah.
How's that? That's your motion.
Is that what I said?
Yeah. Just the way it is on the,
written, that's
just the way it is on the notice. Do I have a second?
Is that as soon as practical up to within a period of 1 year
The circumstances,
still?
please.
And that covers everything that way, doesn't it?
Funny.
No objection.
Accept it as written.
I definitely feel we should change. I think our hands are tied in that. you know,
To me, that would change it.
Yep.
Okay, do you have that, Chris, by any chance?
I think the point is you know, you're trying to send a strong message, and how do you send a strong message to someone who's been in violation? Because if we're limited to just 1 year to the date,
Yep.
sometimes that just goes away. And that date comes up, and it could be on a Saturday or a Wednesday or something, but you know, to be able to enforce it right away and really send a strong message that this is serious business, I think is
So the motion
important for us.
reflect that the suspension be served as soon as practical, up to 1 year from the date of violation.
The board agreed that change should be made. Well, Barnstable will soon have a place for dogs to play. A dog park is planned near Hathaway's Pond. Town manager Tom Lynch says a site visit will take place this week.
Look at the Hathaway's Pond area where we want to put it. We want to buffer from the road. There's a nice section just a little bit down after the entryway to go. We began to mark it out. So there, the survey crew is now going to get more specific with that, so we can look at putting together a license for the area, and then begin putting together our plans. We've put a grant in for some funding, so we may have a funding source to do that in addition to the monies that the private group has been raising. And right now, there's no public money going into this,
Right.
But if we get the grant, then we could assist them with that effort.
No word
So-
yet on when the dog park could open. A study will soon begin that will examine space in our schools. Superintendent Dr. Mary Chkowski has
One
more.
of the priorities was to we have 5 remaining portables in our elementary schools. Originally there were 19, and some of them are as old as probably 40 years old, and are currently housing some of our technology programs, some of our special education programs, our ELL Parent Center over at Hyannis West. So we're hoping with this space needs study, I brought forward a proposal as part of our capital improvement plan to budget to look at our space at our elementary schools. So last week there was a designer selection board which consisted of myself, David Anthony, Joanna Boucher, David Kanyak, Gareth, and myself. And we interviewed 2 architectural firms to conduct this space needs study, and TBA out of Waltham was selected to conduct the study. So we're going to be meeting with them this Tuesday morning with the elementary principals, and they're going to begin doing something what's called space mining. And space mining is where they go in and they will look at existing space, and are we utilizing in the most efficient way our existing space that we have.
Chkowski is hoping to eliminate portable classrooms that have been in place for several decades. Phase 1 of that study expected to wrap up in December. Well, almost as fast as it was put in place, the state's new technology tax is off the books. 5th Barnstable State Rep Randy Hunt talks about the tax's repeal and how now the challenge will be to start paying people back.
Week, the governor signed the bill, and now the only thing to clean up is if these IT businesses that started collecting the tax on July 31, they were doing that. So obviously clients have paid them this tax, and a couple of the provisions of the bill deal with how to give refunds back to customers, and if the company filed a tax return and actually paid it to the Department of Revenue, how to go about getting a rebate back so that they can then in turn give it back to their customers.
Critics of the tax said it was poorly written and complicated.
It was confusing, as you say. Number 2 is super complicated, and number 3, in the end, everybody realized with the $800 million of revenues that came in the last fiscal year above our prediction, and the several $100 million that it's already above the budget for this year that we're in now, fiscal year that started July 1, people started realizing that this supposed $160 million tax is just unnecessary. So with that, there's no replacement for the tax. It's just going to be replaced by growth in revenue, which is great. You know, the economy is coming back. It's a little slow, but we're adding to the revenues that are coming into the state because the economy is moving along and getting a little better month by
Governor
month.
Patrick signed the bill repealing the tax on Friday. With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin.